The rain had been falling since dawn, soft, steady, endless, turning the windows of the old craftsman house on Rainier Avenue into mirrors of gray. Ethan Caldwell sat at the kitchen table, his coffee untouched, eyes fixed on the clock above the stove. It was 7:52 a.m. His wife, Claire, should have been home by now. She had texted him around 11 the night before. "Working late, don't wait up. Love you." That had been the third late night this week. Ethan tried not to notice the pattern. The last time she'd worked late, she'd come home smelling faintly of a cologne that wasn't his. The first time, she'd slipped into bed without kissing him, claiming exhaustion. Now it was almost 8. Her phone went to voicemail. He took a slow sip of cold coffee and looked out the window at the soaked street, where the faint glow of dawn washed the parked cars in silver. Seattle mornings always had that damp quiet, as if the city itself was holding its breath. When her car finally pulled into the driveway, Ethan exhaled. Relief, confusion, and something darker tangled in his chest. Claire stepped out, her hair pulled back, face pale from the cold. She smiled, too quickly, as she entered the kitchen. "You're up early," she said, shrugging off her coat. Ethan's eyes flicked to the time. 8:09. "Couldn't sleep," he said. "You just get off work?" "Yeah. Big project. Lost track of time." Her tone was practiced, smooth, unbothered, the same voice she used when talking to clients over Zoom. Ethan studied her. The damp on her coat didn't match the rain outside. It was too uneven, too deliberate, like she'd splashed water on herself before coming in. And beneath her perfume, there was something faint, something musky and sharp that made his stomach twist. "You smell like cigarette smoke," he said quietly. She paused, hand tightening around her phone. Someone at work was smoking outside. "You know I hate that smell." "Right." She smiled again, but it didn't reach her eyes. Then she turned and went upstairs. Ethan stayed there, listening to her footsteps. Listening to the shower turn on. Listening to the lye rinse itself clean. By the third week of Claire's late projects, Ethan stopped pretending it didn't bother him. He started noticing small things. The way she always showered immediately after coming home. The way she locked her phone screen when he walked by. The sudden, new energy, the laughter at her texts, the glow in her cheeks, the way she hummed to herself while cooking. They had been married 11 years. Together since college. She was 34 now, a project manager for a tech firm in downtown Seattle. He was a high school English teacher. Their life had rhythm, 2 cars, 1 house, no kids. Just a dog, a golden retriever named Max, and a quiet comfort that used to feel like love. But now there were cracks. Tiny, invisible ones that widened with every silence. On a Friday night, Ethan asked her to go out for dinner. She declined, said she had to finish a presentation. So he waited, then drove downtown himself. Her office windows were dark. He parked across from the building, engine idling, rain smearing the windshield. His phone buzzed, a text from her. "Still at work. Might be late again." He looked up at the dark office building and felt something inside him go cold. Then, movement. Across the street, 2 figures exited a nearby restaurant. Claire, laughing. A tall man beside her, his hand brushing her back as they walked under a shared umbrella. They paused near her car. She looked up at him, smiling softly. He leaned in. Their lips met. Ethan froze. Time stopped. He watched in silence as his wife, his Claire, kissed another man under the neon glow of a faux noodle house sign. Rain streaked the glass like tears. He didn't move until she drove away. Ethan found out the man's name 3 days later. Michael Bennett. 39. Divorced. Senior marketing consultant at Claire's firm. Ethan learned it by accident, or maybe fate. Claire's laptop was open on the kitchen counter, logged into her work email. A message popped up. Subject line. Last night. He knew he shouldn't. But he clicked. Still thinking about you. You looked beautiful in that dress. Wish you could have stayed longer. M. His breath caught. Beneath it was her reply. You make it hard to go home sometimes. The words hit harder than any scream could. He closed the laptop gently, almost reverently, as if shutting a coffin. That night, when she came home, he didn't speak. He watched her eat. Watched her laugh at her phone. Watched her live inside the lie. And something dark began to grow in him, not anger, not yet. Something colder. Curiosity. He started noticing everything, the times she left, the calls she took, the days she wore lipstick to meetings. He wasn't a jealous man by nature, but now he became an investigator of his own life. One night, while she showered, he took her phone and copied the number saved under Mia, work. When he called it later from his car, a man answered. Hello. Ethan didn't speak. He just listened. The voice was calm, confident. The kind of voice that came with expensive suits and cologne that didn't fade. Claire, the man said after a pause. You there? Ethan hung up. Weeks passed. Claire's excuses multiplied. She said her mother was sick, her mother lived in Arizona, perfectly healthy. She said she needed space to focus on work, but came home glowing. She said she was tired, but her energy was radiant. Ethan stopped confronting her. He stopped asking. He smiled, nodded, played the role. He cooked dinner. Cleaned the house. Walked Max along the quiet, rain-slicked streets. Every night he passed the reflection of their house in puddles, the warm light in the windows, the illusion of a happy home. Inside, he was emptying out. Until one night, she came home late again, 1:27 a.m. He was sitting in the dark living room, lights off, only the soft hum of rain against the roof. When she entered, she froze. Jesus, Ethan, you scared me. Where were you? Work. You said that yesterday. Because it's true. He looked at her, his eyes catching the reflection of streetlight on her wet hair. I saw you, he said quietly. Downtown. With him. The silence that followed was absolute. Her face changed, a flicker of shock, then guilt, then something worse, resignation. Ethan. How long? It's not. How long? She looked down. A few months. His chest tightened. Months. I didn't mean for it to happen. You never do. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. I felt so lost, so. Don't, he said, voice shaking. Don't justify it. Not tonight. He stood up, walked past her, and went upstairs. She didn't follow. They became strangers sharing a roof. Morning greetings became nods. Dinners were silent. The rain outside never stopped, it drummed against the house like time refusing to move forward. Ethan tried to work, but even his students noticed his distraction. One asked if he was okay. He smiled and said, just tired. At home, Claire moved like a ghost. She started staying out even more, claiming therapy, though Ethan knew the only healing she wanted was in someone else's arms. He didn't tell anyone. Not friends. Not family. He carried it alone. Until one afternoon, while walking Max through Seward Park, he saw them again, Claire and Michael, walking by the lake, holding hands. They looked happy. Carefree. Like a couple who hadn't burned a life behind them. That night, Ethan started packing her things. Slowly, methodically. Clothes. Jewelry. Her favorite mug. Every piece of her that had lived in his home. When she came in, she stared at the boxes. "What are you doing?" "Making space." "Ethan, please." "No. You made your choice. Now live with it." Her lip trembled. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Ask him." He turned away, and for the first time in weeks, he slept soundly. She moved out 2 days later. Neighbors whispered. Her sister called. Ethan said little. He just let the silence speak. The divorce papers came a month later. No fight, no argument. Just signatures and legal closure. But emotional closure never came. Seattle's winter deepened, and the house grew quieter. Max slept beside Ethan every night, the only warmth left in that house. Sometimes Ethan caught himself still setting 2 plates at dinner, still listening for her keys in the lock. Other times, he'd wake up thinking he heard her laugh downstairs. But she was gone, living in an apartment downtown, probably still with him. Spring came. The rain eased. One afternoon, Ethan got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside, a photo. Claire, sitting alone at a cafe, looking older, thinner. No makeup. No ring. On the back, in familiar handwriting. "I made a mistake. I'm sorry." He turned it over, stared at her face, then tore it in half. Some mistakes don't get forgiven. He walked outside, stood in the rain that had started again, and felt it wash over him, clean, cold, honest. The house on Rainier Avenue became his again. He repainted the walls. Sold her car. Adopted another dog. He never saw her again, though sometimes he thought he did, in a passing crowd, in a reflection, but it was always someone else. Ethan learned to live with the silence. But some nights, when the rain fell just right, he could still hear her voice, soft, apologetic, fading into the hum of the storm. And he would whisper, almost to himself. "I loved you once." Then he'd close his eyes and let the past drift away, carried off by the endless Seattle rain.